The rumors about the changes in Kano's house were spreading fast. Eventually, they turned into news, and the next day, all citizens were reading the newspapers with Hermes at the first page. The extra release was really popular today. Mostly it wasn't because of the changes in the house, but because of the successor. No one could believe that the fourth son of Kano would be the new head of the family. Hermes would be among them too. But facts are really arrogant things. So Hermes Kano is the new head of the house indeed. So the news about leadership was shocking for Hermes and citizens. But didn't we forget someone's? Ah, yes, the servants of the palace. As for them, the news and changes were not just shocking but also scary. Every one of them treated Hermes like a failure, loser and trash. No one took him seriously. But now this guy is their new boss. All of them were afraid for themselves because if Hermes recalls their attitude, he will turn their life into a nightmare. He simply greets them and lets them know that he is the new head of the family. Hermes is thinking about how pleasant his life would be if not this. After all, everything he ever wanted is to live in relaxation and joy. He just wanted to spend his family's money and be free. But his sister just has to make him the head of the house. What a shame. Suddenly, everybody in the room was audibly shocked. Dot looks like Hermes couldn't hold his voice and said everything aloud so everyone could hear him. Now that's a real pain in the… Nason saves the situation. He asks Hermes to stop doing those sorts of things. But he also calls him bro-father, which the guy didn't like. He asks her not to call him like that again. The girl says that he was her brother, but now he is father. So it's not wrong to call him this. Hermes asks her to stop and also not follow him anymore. Then the girl apologizes and says she will call him by his name, as always. The guy wonders if she wants to say something else. But Nisan says that she is his daughter, so it is not her place to say anything in deference to her father. Mimizu then interrupts them and asks for Hermes' attention. The old man says there is an emergency business for Hermes to attend right away. Mimizu informs him that they are in debt, and the debt is about 50,000 pieces of gold. Hermes was really shocked and asked how they could spend so much. The amount of money was quite large, 50,000 pieces of gold. This is more than annual tax revenues from the estate. Then someone wondered if Hermes heard of Torikata Mine. Luckily, the guy recalls this information. Torikata Mine was the property of Kano's family and was well known for its iron ore that never rusts. But that vein has been running out of steam for several years. Unpleasant, true. Hermes' predecessor was interested in developing the reserves with a little help from merchants. But now they want their money back. One of the servants assumes they are afraid that the former head of the house is going to take them down with him. While Hermes was thinking about what he just heard, Mimizu's head nearly blew up. The old man was overwhelmed with frustration, despair, his new master whom he considered a failure and thoughts about changing his job. But he gets himself together and informs Hermes about the family leader's business. Mimizu says that they must keep Torikara Mine no matter what. To achieve this, Hermes has to negotiate with merchants. But the old man lacked enthusiasm. No wonder he assumes that the deal will eventually fail because of an inexperienced and careless successor like Hermes. For a second, the guy thought that this situation was very convenient. He has suspicions and throws his glance at Nisan. She looks at Hermes with a question on her face. The girl tries to look as innocent as possible. Hermes is thinking about their relationships. After all, they were the only family members with direct Kano lineage. His thoughts were about turning this whole situation into a family feud. He needs to show his incompetence and be not good enough in their eyes. Then, someone eventually decides to put Nichan on the throne and take Hermes down. Oh boy, do you think any of them thinks that you are competent and can be a good leader? Please. Hermes assumes that a golden pattern of a family feud is to make a child beat his parents down. So here is the plan. He shows how terrible a ruler he is. The servants start a coup, take him down, and claim Nei-chan to be the new family leader. And then Hermes will be relaxing for the end of his days. Didn't you forget that inconvenient rulers can also be thrown in prison? Or even worse? But the decision was made, so… Hermes decides not to wait too long and show everybody that he is a bad leader using the mine situation. He says that he doesn't care about the future of mine and family as a whole. The second thing that will make him even more bad is to be a tyrant. So he points at Mimizu and orders the old man to handle this situation by himself. Imagine how shocked Mimizu was. Luckily for him, he could endure the stress. The old man explains that merchant's pressure is too great for him. So this is the point when the head of the house must step forward. Mimizu looks at Hermes and asks if the guy can't do it. Hermes didn't think for long. As soon as Mimizu finished his question, Hermes fired the old man. You know, I like this guy. Everybody thinks that he is an arrogant and stupid kid who does not deserve his power, but Hermes really is a smart and tricky guy. He knows what he wants and consistently moves to his goal. The old man was scared. He tried to realize what he just heard. He couldn't wrap his head around. Hermes' words were complete nonsense and sentences for him. He was looking at Nissan, his eyes begging her to do something rational. And the girl stands off for Mimizu. She reminds him that Mimizu has served family for too many years, and Hermes has gone too far by firing the old man just like that. Nissan played her role perfectly. Hermes was waiting for her to say that. This will do her a favor, and he expects her to take advantage of this convenient situation. Hermes replies that he accepts Nissan's remark. Therefore, Mimizu isn't fired, but he is just going to have to sit there for a week and reflect about his actions. Mimizu falls on his knees in front of Hermes and expresses his gratification with all of his heart. Meanwhile, the new head of the house notices that some household members are gathering together and chatting. A smirk appears on his face. They are starting to give Hermes a benefit of the doubt, so the guy decides to not stop and to keep going. If he does his job well enough, he can buy some hate for his vassals to carry Nissan around. And there is no other option beside this one. But something doesn't feel right. Hermes notices something. It was a big bunch of an iron ore from the Torikara mine. Hermes thinks he got what Nissan has on her mind. He assumes this is the leverage to blame him and move around. When the guy touches the ore, something strange is going on. He takes a handful of ore and asks if they are kidding him. No one understands what is going on. Even Nichan asks what happened. He looks at everyone and calls them stupid. Nichan wonders what happened to Hermes since he shows a lot more emotions than before. The guy says nothing. He just squeezes the ore in his hand. And he does that really easy. Then he shows them his hand and everyone is shocked again. It was not an iron, it was silver. Now that was surprising, but great news. Look at this bunch of silver, how big it is. Some of the residents claim that it is ridiculous that silver was found in the mine. However, this may be good news. With such an amount of silver, the debts could be paid much more easily than if it was iron. Hermes takes a piece of silver and claims that they have only tried their hands at building the Torikara mine. So none of them didn't notice that there was a lot of expensive silver in the mine, which means that his servants are incompetent. Meanwhile, Nichan was looking at the silver and claimed that she didn't have an idea of it. It was a mystery that had to be solved. Nichan isn't hesitating. She immediately ordered the servants to find out the truth behind the Torikara mine. Everyone hurried to solve the problem. When everyone was busy, trying to call a survey team, Nichan thanked Hermes. But the guy didn't understand her gratitude. She explains that Hermes did a good job when he figured out that it was silver, not the iron. Hermes was frustrated. He couldn't believe he did it. It was all because of the incompetence of the servants. This frustrated Hermes and he couldn't help it, but to make a logical decision instead of the wrong decision he planned to make. Nichan looks really satisfied. She says that she knows that Hermes will be a good head of the family because he makes great decisions when he is serious. Hermes was irritated by those words. He says that he didn't mean to be that serious and he really didn't mean to be that serious. But something strange was in her voice. Hermes thought that he missed something. As for the girl, she looks at the guy and replies that she knows that he didn't mean to be so serious. Her lips curve in a smile. Hermes is still doing his favorite job, sitting on the chair. But this time, it is the chair of the head of the Kano family. The guy listens to the report and is surprised by it. Hermes was informed that they can't refine silver ore. The guy says that there should be silver in there. Mimizu tries to reply to something, but Hermes stops him. He mocks the old man and says that Mimizu is quite talkative for someone who is so incompetent. But the old man says that this is not the case. The old man explains that until now they have only dealt with Torikara ore. Therefore, they don't have a mage who can refine silver. Of course, they looked out throughout the territory. According to their recon, there are only wizards who only refine Trikala ore. As for those who can refine silver, they have emigrated elsewhere. Hermes is thinking about Mimizu's words. The old man then asks what they should do about it. Hermes laughs at him. He calls Mimizu a fool and says that it is obvious. They have the Torikara ore, but there are no mages who specialize in refining silver. So all they need to do is to recruit people. But then he asks the old man if he is incompetent to do that. Oh my. Mimizu wasn't ready for that one. Actually, he has been working for the family his whole life, and it was a slap to the face for him to hear about his incompetence. So Mimizu promises to gather a great bunch of talented people as soon as possible. The old man apologizes and leaves to search for the recruits. Hermes assumes that today's tyranny is done. Good news. He is now one step closer towards the plan of his downfall. On second thoughts, Hermes is doubting if he was bad enough. He has a feeling that today's tyranny may be quite weak. Anyway, he will be going to his goal. Head of the family? Of course not. He would rather be the prodigal son who likes women and drinks. Hermes has a great idea. He is going out to the city. Is there any better way to show how terrible a ruler he is? Hermes is walking through the city. He says that it is all as he expected. From Pindos, the place where people, money, and goods gather as the largest estate in the territory, it's always bustling with activity. While the guy was walking, someone was watching him. It was a girl. She followed Hermes with her eyes, and when he was close enough to her, she called Hermes from her balcony. It was Orthia, a cute girl who was familiar with Hermes. She invites him to come inside. But the guy says he doesn't want to do it right now. Orthia then mocks the guy and tries to blackmail him and promises to tell everyone his secret if Hermes won't come in. He had enough of Orthia's mockery and dashed into a building. Hermes breaks through the door and passes through the old lady who was sitting there like some kind of hostess. He quickly finds Orthilia's room and opens up the door. With his raging eyes, he looks for the girl, and when he sees her, Hermes says that he is here. Orthia greets the guy with her sweet smile. She asks Hermes not to do it. Surprised guy asks what he shouldn't do. Hermes says that he has a serious conversation. He claims that he won't go back here and wants the girl to remember it. She starts to cry and asks for help because Hermes-chan is treating her. A lie, obviously. But then she leans her head at Hermes' shoulder and says that she can't help it. Orthia says that she is glad to do as her customer says. Hermes doesn't change his opinion. The girl says that she has a little bit of a reputation. Hermes says that he isn't in the right mood. He also thinks it was a bit bad what happened before. And this can cause problems if the girl brings it up. Anyway, she also read a newspaper, so she knows that she has a conversation with the new head of the Kano family. The girl decides to congratulate him on his new position. Orthia kisses him in the chick. Hermes notices that he says so, but he is not bothered by the pushy way of speech of Ortia. Besides, she has an ability to turn any conversation into a bit deeper contact. Anyway, the guy thanks her for her support. However, Orthia notices that Hermes didn't look happy. Of course he doesn't look happy. He confesses to her that being the head of the family is such a boredom. He falls on his stomach. The girl softly touches him and says that she is surprised since she always thought that this is the way Hermes is. The girl says that the man who works hard often has a good connection with girls. She claims that power and libido are almost synonymous. Hermes looks surprised. I bet he didn't hear about this. While Ortia is doing a massage, he leans forward too much. Hermes notices that and says that she is touching him with her chest. Then he raises up and yells at her. But the girl says it was just a basic technique and she smiles. The guy claims that her technique is too exciting and he is terrified. Then she asks the guy if he is working on something because he looks like he is bothered by some stuff. He mentions some reformation. The girl looks surprised, but Hermes explains that this is how it is called. Actually, he doesn't know the right word. She wonders if it is about him, but Hermes says he has no clue. Orthia mentions that she has been meeting some silver-smelting wizards lately. It looks like their number has increased. However, she also informs that all of them look quite resourceful and keep saying, "We will be back." Moreover, there are rumors in the city that Torikara mine will change to silver. So the girl suggests Hermes join the Tadai's group. He wonders who they are. That group is a group of merchants who gather people who use magic. Hermes is thinking about what he heard. It is known that wizards they have been speaking about are by no means cheap. But their phrase? Something is bothering about it. If they say so, that means their income is quite good. Strange. And the girl also mentioned a manager. Hermes wishes to know who that mysterious guy is. A few days later, the new head of the Kano family gathered his people. Mimizu informs Hermes about the job well done. Of course he did the job. He's been working for Kanos for decades. What do you expect him to be? Some incompetent trash? And he really found a big number of wizards. So it has begun. The wizards took out their canes and demonstrated their magic. Mimizu asks the guy to watch how good they are. And of course, the old man says that he did the job, and he did it perfectly just because his master asked him to do it. So now he is waiting for affection. But Hermes quietly stands up. He stands in front of all the mages preparing to say something. I bet he is going to say something really bad to them. But Mimizu seems to not notice this. Instead, the old man just watches Hermes and wonders what's wrong. Just hurry up and change the job, Mimizu, before Hermes yells at you one more time. Hermes shouting one single name, Alara. Everyone looks startled. Looks like there is no such wizard. Meanwhile, some mages are talking about Hermes' affection towards them, but the guy yells at them and calls them naive people. Hermes smirks and asks them if they are really trying to use Titus's money to indulge in women. By the look of their faces, it is clear that Hermes got them. So then he asks if Titus wants to take over Silver. Then the guy recalls his conversation with Orthia. She didn't think much of Titus and considered him just an average boss. But Hermes was talking about possibilities. Technically, he'd be a silver smelter's purveyor. In short, these wizards will do the job or not, depending on Titus's whims. And if so, the whole Kano family will be at his mercy. Worst case scenario, he could take over the territory, let alone the silver. Orthia assumes the guy wants a favor. She talks about the recent influx of wizards in the area, who are Titus's lackeys. He smiles and asks Orthia about a favor. The girl looks at him with surprised eyes. Mimizu still looks upset. The poor old man has no idea what Hermes is talking about. Then the guy tells him that all those wizards are hired by Tadais. Mimizu thinks about it for a second and comes to the conclusion that it is actually a good idea. But Hermes asks the old man to listen to him. He says that it is clear that those guys are under the influence of Titus, so they should keep that to themselves and use those wizards for the good of the Kano's family. Hermes says that whether or not they refine the silver is up to them. Mimizu looked at Hermes with round eyes, but after a few seconds, he turns around and runs to look into it again. Hermes and wizards look at Mimizu and sigh. That old man is really a strange dude. So Hermes is back to Orthia. The girl welcomes him and asks how it was. The guy replies that everything was perfect and it is a complete win thanks to her. She is glad to hear that. Then the guy demonstrates the simple magic tools for transmission and reception of audio. He used it to get Orthia to tell him the name of the girl, Alara. That's why Hermes called for Alara then. And then the guy used them. But in the end, the guy wonders if it is good for Orthia, the way she ratted out her fellow customers. But she asks the guy to not worry. You see, according to her words, Titus is quite an arrogant man. So when she told him that the territory was in danger of being taken over, they agreed to the plan. Hermes understands her. Then he takes out a big pouch of gold from his pocket. He asks Orthia to take it as Hermes' affection for her help. But the girl refuses to take it. Orthia says she doesn't want it. With all of her honor, she says that due to her profession, she can't take money for anything except her work. Instead, the girl suggests Hermes come and visit her sometime. The guy smiles and promises to pay her a visit shortly. The girl was cheered up by Hermes' promise. She then asks him to give her a pinky promise. Then she was about to leave. But before that, Orthia told that she will be waiting for him. Hermes smiled while looking at Orthia. When he was back home, Nechan met him. She said that she saw everything, meaning that she knows that Orthia and Hermes have some kind of bond. The guy was startled. He wondered how long she had been there. The girl answered that she was there all the time, but she is impressed by Hermes. Nechan asks if Hermes couldn't have solved it in one shot if he was serious, but the guy is about to leave. He replies that he won't do it. At this moment, he is sick of getting praises from his sister. That's why he stopped by his sister's place. He decided it wouldn't be good to go further. Hermes sighs. Hermes' carriage stops. Orthia was waiting for it. She goes inside and sits next to the guy. She asks something, but it seems like Hermes didn't like it. He looked at the girl and said that he wouldn't do it. He won't do it never. whenever that means. The founder of the family, Nana Kano. A legendary knight and a woman who made a name for herself. Even though she was a woman, she led an army of 200 men, taking part in battles all around the world, never losing a single one of them. Mimizu steps in. He says that he will have Hermes learn from the great founder and also have Hermes take part in the ceremony of his first battle. Hermes, meanwhile, was eating some kind of chips and was really surprised to hear that. The guy asks what's that all of a sudden. The old man explains that it's a trial that has been passed down since the ancient times in the family. Hermes calls it tedious. He asks the old man what will happen if he won't participate in this ceremony. Mimizu says that this is just a theory, since the trial is very simple and no one ever refused to participate. But it is said that the ghost of the founder will appear and beat Hermes' spirit into shape and such. Hermes was listening to Mimizu with no surprise. He was thinking about the old man's words. A ghost will appear. It is not like Hermes totally believes this story. He claims that legends give prestige to the victor and their credibility is around 30% at most. Still, he cannot fully ignore this trial. The spirit of a hero. Sometimes the soul of talented people or of a great person can't leave this world because of a curse or a spell. The founder, Nana Kano, was a woman who roamed the world with her army as she pleased. Even if there is only a 30% chance that this is true, she is still at a level where she could actually materialize as a heroic spirit. So the guy claims that the trial is indeed a pain. But despite that, if he doesn't do it, there might be problems. Hermes is now more steady about the ceremony. He asks about the trial one more time and assumes that it would be better for him to submit and participate in the ceremony. For the ceremony, everybody gathers in a tiny valley between two rocky hills. Somebody brings horses to the trial. I wonder if they are part of the ceremony. It was a discovery for Hermes to see Nichan there. What on earth is she doing here? She giggles and says that she is the daughter of the head of the family, so it's natural for her to be here. But more than that, Hermes wonders why Sora is coming with him too. Anyway, she replies that she came here to witness Hermes' coolness. The guy didn't believe that since he claims that he has no coolness. Then Nichan adds that there might also be people who don't want him to be a head of the family, and they may try to make Hermes look bad. So she is like a guardian angel for the guy. Hermes wonders if it's the real reason why Nichan is here. For his sister, who always praises him, those who don't acknowledge Hermes are enemies. He assumes that's why she prepared for the worst and bought some witnesses. Before the trial starts, the girl cheers Hermes up and asks him to give his all. The group of people moved forward. Up ahead was a big cave. Hermes and Nichan stood and looked at it. They wondered if that was the place. The old man says that Hermes must enter this place alone, and the goal is to retrieve a coin. The guy was a bit concerned to hear that this is a one-man task, but that's the rules. Nichan, however, was still there. She tried to cheer him up and claimed that she would be there, waiting for him. Despite the attitude towards her, Hermes was happy to hear that. The old man watched them. He thought that it would be very convenient if there was something in the cave and Hermes couldn't rush back here. With that being said, Hermes has to enter the cave. He hesitated for a little bit, but he couldn't just turn around and tell everyone that he changed his mind. After all, they all expect him to enter for their fun. Except for Sora. The girl was really worrying about his brother, foster father. The guy finally entered the cave. He touched the walls and came to the conclusion that the structure of the cave is natural. There were only moderate signs of human activity. The guy was walking through the cave thinking if it is really just a ritual thing. All of a sudden, he stopped in surprise. As strange as it was, Hermes saw the water inside. It looked like a river with a strong stream. The size of it was huge. The guy turned around and saw nobody. Did he suspect someone will follow him here? Anyway, when Hermes was sure that he was alone here, he continued on his way through the cave. He looked at the ground and on the other side. He needed to cross the river, so he takes his first step. And the guy did it without breaking a sweat. It looked like he was disappointed. After he crossed the river, the guy complained that this was nothing but a terrible farce. It would be better if he refused. In that case, the ghost would appear and that could be much more fun. But in any case, Hermes should keep moving. The guy notices some strange yellow light. When he had a closer look, he saw it was the coin on a pedestal. The guy rushed forward and took the coin. He twisted it in his hands and saw an image of the founder herself on the coin. The guy wonders if it's enough to go back. Looks like that wasn't enough. Hermes sees one more chamber. He decides to go there and see what he can find there. After all, taking this coin was like taking candy from a baby. So maybe he could find something challenging there. And he was kinda right. Actually, it was like his previous walk. The only difference was that this time he has to deal with fire instead of water. Was it harder than before? No, it wasn't. The guy casts a spell to extinguish the fire, that's all. Up ahead, he sees something like a pedestal, but it is covered with some sloth. Hermes uncovers the pedestal and grabs one more coin. On a first glance, it looks like the previous one. Hermes twists the coins. Their heads are similar, but the tails of the coins are different. Hermes smirks. He claims that he knows what they are up to. So the guy continued on his journey. He crossed a big gorge with sharp stakes at the bottom. He got a coin with 3 stars on its tail for that. Next, he successfully dealt with the spears that were about to pierce him. He got a coin with 4 stars for that. He got a coin with 5 and 6 stars. And he did all that without any complications. Even though this place was full of deadly traps, it was so safe that Hermes could even make this cave his own bedroom. Finally, Hermes dealt with a test he considered to be the last one. The guy claimed it was all too easy. Like always, he saw a pedestal up ahead. It also was covered with cloth. Hermes already knew what to do. He took the last coin with 7 stars on its tail. Hermes finally did it, but still it was too deep. That means that the higher the number of stars on the coin, the greater the pedestal. So in his case, the right one is… Hermes stood for a second and was thinking about his next move. He put each coin on the pedestal and started to choose the right one. It didn't take too long, though. Considering the knowledge he gained, Hermes quickly finds out that the right coin is the coin with 1 big star on its tail. He takes the right coin and squeezes it in his hand. The job is done now. Enjoying himself, Hermes addresses those who were standing at the entrance to the cave. Nei-chan was more startled than the others. However, maybe Mimizu was as surprised as she was. Look! Hermes finally leaves the cave. The ceremony is over. But the guy didn't look good. He is soaked. Everybody was concerned about Hermes' well-being. Nei-chan asked him what happened. He explained that there was water at some point and it was dreadful. And by the way he got the coin, he showed it to the old man. Suddenly, some huge guy appears. For some reason, he asks Hermes to show him the coin. Hermes wondered who this guy was and why he wanted to see the coin in the first place. But the guy decided that it doesn't matter and asked the huge dude to check the coin quickly. After he got the coin in his hands, some strange metamorphoses started to happen with him. It looked like slowly but surely the dude was deflating. From a big, strong muscle guy, he changed into a tiny, weak guy. And after a few more seconds, the dude literally turned into a dust. When Mimizu saw the coin with his own eyes, there also was a chance that he would disappear. No jokes, according to the old man's words. No one's ever been able to get it. The guy was just using a towel when he heard this. Look how much he is startled. And it seems he doesn't believe what he just heard. Let's be real. After what we saw, no one would believe that no one's ever been able to get that coin. The old man asked his men to go into the cave and verify Hermes' find. Everybody rushed into a cave to do the job. Hermes and his sister were watching all that fuss. The guy wondered what this all means. At the same time, some dude reported to Mimizu that it was the first-ranked trial. Nei-chan explained that it means the highest trial of them all. Seriously? The hardest trial? You must be kidding. On the founder's coin, there is a magic draining curse. The closer the coin is to entrance, the stronger the curse. The first one is the hardest to get. While the deeper one goes, the easier it gets to retrieve the coin. It is also said that the founder came to see the efforts of many. Even without skills, as long as you give it your all and keep going forward until you reach the end, you will manage somehow. And this trial was built on this very principle. Hermes opened his mouth because of his shock. Now the guy gets it. If the 1 star coin is the most cursed, the fact that he brought it back means, oh my. Nei-chan looks very excited because of Hermes' success. She repeats that when the guy is serious, he is amazing. Hermes doesn't like it when she talks like that. He tries to deny it and says that he isn't serious, and he definitely wasn't like that when he passed through the trial. But this girl is really unstoppable when it comes to being proud of her brother. She says that Hermes means that the whole trial wasn't worth getting serious in the first place. The others weren't amazed less. They finally acknowledge his abilities and claim that Hermes is an incredibly skilled guy. While the guy was looking at their excited, smiling faces and the coin, he asked himself only one question. Why? Why did it end up like this? So the guy successfully passed the trial and he got the acknowledgement from his surroundings. That means that now he can finally have some rest. And while Nichan was talking with girls in the palace, the guy sat in his chair reading a newspaper. The girls wanted his attention so badly that they couldn't stand that he is reading news with bigger interest instead of talking to them. His sister stepped closer to Hermes and asked what he was reading. The guy proudly shows her his magazine. It is called Ortia Ultimate Collection. And it was a collection of all the pictures of a girl currently known as Orthia. Sora's head almost blows up. She wasn't glad to hear that. Moreover, at the beginning of the manga, she told Hermes to stay away from things like this. So she did the same thing as before, took the magazine and threw it out of the window far, far away. The guy complains that the girl has no right to do such a thing. He says that he was reading that. Nei-chan says that it is weird stuff. Hermes didn't agree with her. He says that Orthia the Adventurer is the most beautiful woman in their history. Her name has become the epitome of beauty. And now a lot of girls are named after her. That was the precious book with all the Orthias that enthusiasts have gathered across the continent risking their lives. But Nichan was unwavering. She says that Hermes hyperbolizes things. She also says that Hermes definitely has more important things to read. He wonders what she means. The guy takes another book and asks if this is the one he should read. That book wasn't just an ordinary book. That book was the list of marriage proposals their family has received. It would be much better if she threw this book away. After all, reading about Orthia's adventure would be much more interesting. Nei-chan doesn't like this either. She puts off this list and asks Hermes not to change the subject. The girl says that no one cares about these triflets. She explains that the content of proposals is mostly bait to take over their family. Since 3 of their brothers passed away and the Lord changed, thus the household situation is unstable. But the guy claims that it doesn't matter who will join the family. The girl was surprised. As the example, Hermes mentions the last one from the list. It is cleverly hidden in the portfolio, but he keeps climbing the social ladder through marriage and divorce. A sly and untrustworthy person will hardly be honest. There is the chance that sooner or later he will take over with deceitful words. Hermes can't let a person like that get into the Kano household. The girl gets amazed by Hermes's intelligence once more. She claims that the guy is a person who can properly see the true nature of things. If he gets serious, he won't lose to the past generations. She also says that the guy is a person with exceptional talent who will be a great leader. Those words pissed off the guy as always. He wonders if he just kicked the hornet's nest. He only says that when a daughter gets married, the husband too will influence her father's dignity. She agreed with that. Then he goes back to his reasoning. Letting the girl succeed him is a safe move in order to keep living the way he wants, even after he abdicates his position. Furthermore, one day he will instigate the vassals, and under his sister's guidance, he will take her place. And this is the reason why he won't give his sister in marriage to anyone. But the girl looked at him strangely, and at that moment he finally realized that he said that with a stern look, which means his sister will see he is getting serious and come straight at him again. What a failure. Epic fail. But when the girl steps closer to him, he sees that there is something wrong with her. She is red like a beet, and her eyes are about to cry. Hermes immediately asks her what happened. She says, now and again, which means she asks the guy to say again what he said now. Hermes gets what she wants. He supposes she wants him to say his serious words again. The guy just says that he won't send his sister as a bride anywhere, and in his head he thinks that it was too obvious a trick from her to fall for it. The girl looks embarrassed. She heard what she wanted, but she didn't look satisfied. Instead, she just says, okay, and leaves. Still, she was red as a beet, and Hermes considered it strange that Nichan didn't say her usual, "You are amazing, Hermes." He considered it as his success, which means his deception was successful. But before she leaves, she also asks Hermes not to show his face to anyone else. Interesting request. Like, why is she asking him for this? Hermes agrees with her. He says he got it. But he also wonders if she is talking about the flippant face he made the second time. Did he really make that much of a strange face? On the next day, everything was as usual. Hermes was sitting in his chair surrounded by Mimizu and his sister. But the feeling that something isn't right didn't leave him. Something was strange. The old man asked for an individual meeting without taking the other vassals along. Moreover, he asked for Hermes' sister's presence. Quite a weird combination. So let's get straight to the business. Mimizu says that he will ask something directly. The old man says that he heard that Hermes is going to reject every marriage proposal to Lady Sora. Hermes confirms that. Then Mimizu wonders about the reason for that. The guy supposes it isn't the vassal's concern. But Mimizu says that he has a theory why Hermes is doing that. The old man says that there are rumors out there that Hermes doesn't want to part with his sister because the guy has some impure thoughts in his mind. The guy yells at Mimizu because of his shock. Hermes is barely conscious at that moment. How could he stand such shocking news in the first place? Deep in his head, he wonders what are groundless rumors. A crap about him falling for his own sister. Some ridiculous garbage. He can't believe it. So the guy asks who is spreading such rumors. Were it the maids? Hermes bets he recalls yesterday's conversation between them and Ni-chan. Plus, they saw how Ni-chan became red after she spoke with Hermes. They noticed this and unjustly suspected him of something. In any case, the situation is really bad for him. And for Sora as well. That is not what Hermes wanted. Absolutely not. Of course he wanted his vassals to think of him as a tyrant, an inept ruler. But this is too much. It is time for him to do something about this as soon as possible. The old man says that he is fully aware that those rumors are fool and complete nonsense. It is ridiculous to give credit to the gossip of maids and such. However, the fact that Hermes won't allow his sister to marry someone is suspicious itself. He addresses Lord Hermes and says that he wishes to know why the guy made that decision, but Sora interrupts him. She asks him, isn't it supposed to be among his duties? The guy was shocked when she joined the conversation. The old man wonders if the girl blames him for this. Sora says that her brother has thoroughly investigated those proposals. They are mostly meant to use the Kano household. They are ridden with upstarts and people trying to take over the Kanos. Finally, every one of them experienced the shock. Hermes was first, then Sora, and now the old man almost dropped his monocle. But Hermes was numbed as the old man. Then the girl asked him what's the matter. She reminds him that yesterday he told her the exact same thing. With a trembling voice, the guy says it's true, but he claims that she did nice. Thanks to her efforts, Mimizu once again heard that the Kano family was rescued by Hermes once again. As we all know, this was never Hermes' plan. Sora then takes the list of proposals and shows it to the old man. She points at the most promising young man among them. She says that Hermes is the one who ascertained this man is upstart climbing the social ladder, getting married and divorcing over and over. Then she yells at Mimizu and orders him to review them all at once. Scared Mimizu assures Sora that he will do everything perfectly and leaves the room. The girl's face started to smile. The one who wasn't satisfied was Hermes. He claimed that his sister played him again, but the girl turned to him, showing the most beautiful and innocent smile possible. She claimed that she didn't know what he was talking about. Her giggle was so nice yet so annoying for Hermes. So right from that moment, the guy swore he would never ever, not even secretly, get serious. Hermes decided to change his location. Maybe he was bored sitting in the chair all day. In any case, he changed his outfit and went to the city. The guy came to the market, looking at prices and to check the product's quality. While he was looking at the counter, some people were looking at him. They recognized he was the Kano's family leader, but they were surprised to see him in a place like that. One of them says that Hermes has been loitering around since this morning in those flashy clothes. After all, he is a prodigal lord as they thought of him. Oh, and look at Hermes' face. Looks like he didn't walk out just to have fun. He wanted people to recognize him and gossip behind his back. So he chose the right place for this purpose. His punk outfit is something the elders are going to frown upon when they see it. Although it is not enough to get hated by these people. If riots or the like were to happen, he couldn't stand aside and watch. Rather than dealing with that neighborhood, he will keep a balanced approach so he can get moderately close to them. He will play the part of the prodigal lord. That will be perfect. So he was walking through the city when all of a sudden he smelled something really delicious. It was a middle-aged madam who was treating kids with her cooking, and the kids lined up just to have a taste of madam's dishes. She was glad to help them. Suddenly, she noticed a familiar face. The woman recognized that one of her customers was Hermes. She was amazed by this fact. He sniffed a little bit and said that he smelled quite sweet aroma. The madam praised his senses and said that the dish is called dorayaki. They are really popular as of late. Dorayaki is a sweet, thought to be forgotten, that was made by a person from an ancient era. The only known thing is that it was made with flour and red beans paste. Recently, a recipe's been discovered in some ruins, and since then, it immediately became very popular. The madam's story excited Hermes. And that sweet scent? He asked the woman for one of those dorayaki. She was happy to give him the sweet. Finally, it was a moment of truth. Hermes had a taste of dorayaki. To his surprise, the taste of the sweet was so amazing he couldn't hold himself. It was really sweet and good. The woman said that it's people's favorite sweets. The guy instantly asked the madam for more dorayaki. He thought it would be a good idea to bring some of these sweets to his sister. After that, the guy decided to hang around there for a little more. He visited a fast food restaurant and also checked out new jewelry trends, but it doesn't look like he has any interest in those things. As he steps further into the city, he hears some noise. The tone of voices wasn't nice. Rather, it was threatening. When the guy looked around, he saw a group of people who surrounded someone. They were speaking about a girl and threatening someone. A fight over a woman, I suppose. Okay, that's gotta be interesting. But looking at the woman, it doesn't seem like she has any interest in any of those guys. Hermes managed to have a better view of the situation. One of the guys said that he hit the woman accidentally. He claims that she said she wasn't seeing anyone. The second man didn't believe it. Or he just wanted to fight. That's possible too. Anyway, the first one says he is not lying to him, but the second blonde man takes out his sword. This argument goes very wrong very quickly. The first man wasn't ready for the fight. But while looking around, he finds a stick and takes it. Well, at least it's better than nothing. The people felt it was going to end badly. They asked someone to stop the fight, but at the same time, they didn't do anything and kept watching. Hermes looks around and quickly understands that no one is going to interfere. The guy sighs. Such a fight takes place in his own domain. What a joke. He supposed that he had no choice but to stop them himself. The man with a sword starts mocking the guy with a stick. The fight was about to start in a second. Hermes takes a little stone and points it forward. He hits the stone with his finger and the stone hits the blonde guy. The hit was so powerful that the man was instantly knocked out. The guy with a stick startled when the blonde man's body fell on the ground unconscious. He thought the man had fainted. But a few moments ago, Hermes knocks out the second guy with a stone. Both men were laying down. The fight was successfully avoided. Easy. Hermes claims he held back enough. His hits were about as strong as a man's punch. Those guys were pretty angry, but they will probably calm down once they wake up. And so, after hitting their targets, the pebbles too went their own way. To the crowd, it will look like men's bodies suddenly collapsed onto the ground. Hermes went away in high spirits, until he saw the girl. Yes, just a regular girl. Except she was a regular girl who saw everything Hermes did to stop the fight. She puts her hands in the way Hermes puts it when he shoots pebbles out of his palm. The girl is trying to repeat the moves, but she fails. She claims it's hard to do. Hermes does facepalm. This little girl saw everything, even though he used pebbles to not get caught. But it had an opposite effect. Right now, the guy needs her to keep her mouth shut. He tries to guess her thoughts to distract her. The guy is afraid that if word gets out, all around him will be like, "You really are something if you get serious." He really wants to avoid this, so he decides to sacrifice something really precious to him. He crouches in front of the girl. Then Hermes takes out one dorayaki from the bag and gives it to the girl. But the guy says he wants her to be quiet and not tell anyone what she saw. The girl looks really excited. She likes dorayaki, obviously. But then she says that her mom says it's bad for her teeth, so she can't eat too many. Hermes thinks for a bit. Then he gives her the whole bag. What? Didn't she just say that she is not allowed to eat many sweets? The little girl takes the bag with such excitement. Hermes asks her to keep the secret from others. The girl agrees to keep it a secret. Hermes and the girl say goodbye to each other, and then their path separates. The guy looks really exhausted, so it is a wise choice to get back to the palace. Some days later, the guy was sitting in his chair when Sora called him. But this time, the girl's face wasn't angry as usual. It was the opposite. She was smiling. Hermes asked, "What's with her face?" She didn't answer the question. Instead, she told him that she has a letter for Hermes. The girl says that word is spreading. Hermes didn't get it. Then Sora says that she knows that Hermes stopped a fight over a girl some days before. Hermes was shocked. Sora says that this is what the kid from the letter said. Just went, phew, phew with his finger and knocked out both men. In the end, that girl spilled the beans. Hermes was disappointed in humanity. Sora then says that it must be fate. The letter goes like, "The dorayaki was delicious. Thanks a lot, Uncle Hermes." It was a thank you letter. Sora also mentions that the girl wanted to write a letter, so she started to learn how to write and was looking for Hermes' address. That made the grown-ups around her ask her what that was about, and she answered. Then, the guy turns his back to Sora. He wonders if it is pointless to ask kids not to brag about something cool they saw. Sora asks the guy to give up already. She wants him to show the world what he is really capable of. But Hermes replies that he doesn't want to do it. He assumes that there is nothing else to do than to pray that people will take it as some kind of kid's delusion. Besides, there is something that bothers Hermes too. He claims that he is not old enough to be an uncle. But Sora asks him if he thinks it is better to look like a cool uncle when he gets serious. Then Hermes looks at it from a rational and logical way. If he is an uncle, that means Sora is an aunt. The girl was frustrated. She immediately takes the letter and, you guessed it, throws it away. But this time she fails. They have a dog in their household. So the dog managed to catch the letter and brought it back to Sora and Hermes. Sora is amazed with the dog's skills. As for the guy, he is thinking about that girl. Even though he tries not to show his real thoughts, he became red, which means he appreciates the girl's gratitude. The image of the girl in his imagination mends his soul. So I guess it will be fair to say that Hermes was glad that this letter was brought back to him. Without hesitation, he opened the letter and started to read it. The letter said exactly the same words that Hermes heard from Sora. This time, when reading the word uncle, Hermes didn't feel there was anything wrong. It was the opposite. Now this word sounded funny yet pleasing to him. There were true feelings behind it. Hermes, for the first time, sits behind the table full of work papers, documents, letters, books. I bet this isn't the last time we see him like this. Anyway, he isn't just working with papers, but also listens to Mimizu's report. The old man says that the current years this time, as they previously did, of but to the amount of money. Mimizu stops for a second. He tries to weigh every single word, but he could just say it as it was, because Hermes doesn't seem to bother much. For the guy, the job of the head of the family is a huge pain in his ass. Mimizu, meanwhile, asks the current head of the family for permission. It is important to have the official permission, so Hermes must stamp the paper. The guy agrees to give Mimizu the permission. He stamps the paper. But Hermes isn't satisfied with his current position. He thought that as far as his daily work as the head of the family goes, he wouldn't have that much to do. The vassal takes turns to come visit him almost every day. They bring in the reports or petitions from around the Dominion looking for a reward. Since these things are mostly handled by bureaucrats and local people, unless there is something out of the ordinary, all he needs to do is give permission. At first, within limitation, Hermes heard what they had to say to understand the problem properly. But then he had given his permission, and vassals would carry on with their duties. Such a pain, isn't it, Hermes? Then the old man informs the guy that the next report he has to listen to is the report about the damage caused by the slimes. Slimes? The guy asks Mimizu if he meant specific type of the slimes. The old man confirms that. Hermes is thinking about the slimes. They are weak. A slime can easily be wiped out with a single hit. Of course, they know their weaknesses, so they often gather together. And when they are together, they could be really annoying. You will be surprised, but the slimes are one of the most perverted creatures. They are easily attracted to women and usually choose to catch one if they are in a group. Even among the monsters, they are the weakest, and they seldom cause any human casualties at all. Still, they have outstanding regenerative abilities, and if they are not killed with a one blow, they won't die. Basically, these creatures are omnivores, but for unknown reasons, if they catch a woman, they often only melt her clothes and eat them. Mimizu reports that slimes gathered in groups, and since they cause some damage, there is a petition to suppress them. Hermes looks at the paper. Slimes eradication, he thinks. They are the lowest of monsters and… Yes, that's right. Looks like the guy has a genius idea in his head. He wants to become a braggart monster hunter, specialized only in lowly monsters like slimes. Mimizu and Sora won't appreciate this idea, I suppose. Furthermore, the guy wants to brag about something that anyone can do. Not only that, but he will even blatantly exaggerate everything. When the old man was about to say the reason why slimes grew in number to form a swarm, Hermes rises up and yells that he will do it by himself. Surprised, Mimizu asked what actually Hermes meant by that. The guy smirks and says that he will exterminate the slimes. Well, if this is what the head of the family wants, I guess no one can prevent him from doing that. With that being said, the guy rides his horse and moves to the old province valley, a place in the Aegean Plains, half of a day from Pindos and somewhat to the south. According to the information, it should be somewhere around here. Soon enough, Hermes notices a group of slimes. He counts them, 20 units, just as they said. The monsters gathered around something. Hermes assumed it was potatoes and some meat. Since they lacked the weapons to fight back, the nearby villages probably threw away some low-quality food to slow down the monsters. That would explain why human casualties have been so low, but still, the monsters are monsters. They will never hesitate as long as there are humans to attack. And being attacked or losing someone is a trauma that will scar a person's life. So the only right solution to this problem is to exterminate the monsters before it's too late. Hermes' eyes are full of determination, and at the same time so calm. The guy told everyone in the area not to follow him over and over again. As far as he can see, there is no one, and he doesn't feel any presence either. As he thought, nobody dares to defy the Lord's order, so it is time to get straight to the business. Hermes is concentrating on the problem, the slimes. Killing 20 of them one by one is quite a pain, but Hermes knows that these creatures are weak to fire. This means he will burn them all at once. Pretty smart decision. I wonder why nobody from the villages didn't make it, though. Of course, they lack weapons, but I doubt it is a problem for them to burn some little monsters. Anyway, Hermes casts a spell. Those slimes were pretty shocked to see the fire right from nowhere. Everything was going smoothly. The great wall of fire trapped the monsters, and everyone who was inside literally melted because of the fire. But Hermes noticed one slime who really didn't want to be burned. That little creature tried to escape its punishment. The guy asked it to just give up and be burned instantly. He burns the area once again just to catch the last slime. The job was done perfectly. None of the slimes survived the flame. Hermes sighed. He watched a little bit closer to be certain that he dealt with every slime. Then he looked around to check if he was really alone and nobody was following him. He sees no witness. Perfect. Now the guy could go back to the palace. He didn't even have to get off the horse. Hermes pulls the leashes and heads to the palace. He passed through the burned ground, which was a home for a group of slimes just a minute before. Hermes came back to the palace. Since it didn't take long for him to deal with the monsters, Mimizu, who was standing at the entrance, was really surprised to see that the Lord came back so quickly. The guy wasn't tired, but the whole monster-dealing process caused hunger. He would like to eat something. Suddenly, Hermes comes up with an idea. He was thinking of doing it later, but why not try it right now? The guy looks at Mimizu and proudly says that it wasn't a big deal at all. Poor Mimizu was shocked by such behavior. He wondered what it meant. It was not big of a deal. Hermes explains that it means that he defeated all the slimes. After hearing this, the old man was shocked 2 times harder. "Did you really do it?" he wonders. Hermes asks the old man to go and see for himself. But anyway, he will receive the report tomorrow, so maybe he should stay in the mansion. So Hermes' plan is to brag about killing some lowly monsters. This will make him an embarrassing and boastful young lord, and since he is doing it, he assumes he must do it thoroughly. So the guy bragged that there were 20 monsters, but he blasted them with just 1 finger. He says it was a real walk in the park. The young lord claims it sounded like some really nice bragging. He looks at the old man and enjoys how speechless Mimizu is. He wonders if the old man really thought about him so low until now. Hermes is thinking about this phrase. Did you really think so little of me until now? He wonders if he could use it to look like a tyrant or something. Then Mimizu shocks the arrogant lord. He informs the guy that there was a slime lord among those 20, and that is why no one could do anything about them. The old man wonders if Hermes really defeated it. A slime lord, Hermes wonders. Mimizu says that that's how it is. The slime lords are said to appear every few decades. Well, there may be a problem about that slime lord. Mimizu explains that following its instincts, the lord roams about the land looking for food to absorb. And it was the reason why that swarm formed in the first place. Now Hermes starts remembering things. He bets Mimizu mentioned something about this just before Hermes left to deal with slimes. The old man informs that Slime King's appearance doesn't change, but their vitality, regenerative and reproductive powers far surpasses those of a common slime. If left alone, it can spawn enough slimes to cover the whole city in about a month. The guy says that now when Mimizu said it, he recalled that there was one slime which was stronger than others. The old man says that the Lord of Slimes was the reason why he worried so much. He asks Hermes if the guy really exterminated the Lord, because that creature can cause a catastrophe if left alone for too long. Hermes has no other option than to pretend that he defeated the Lord. He assures the old man that he really beated the Slime Lord. The guy says it was a hard battle indeed. So Hermes' bragging just turned into a plane in Mimizu's head. But when the old man got the report, things became worse than ever. The servants examined the scene and came to the conclusion that it was just a single shot. That's what was written in the report. The rumors about Hermes were spreading really fast. It was something like, the Lord being incredible. He dealt with the slimes with just one single shot. Lord Hermes really befit this family. It is an honor to serve him, etc. Hermes and Sora have a diner. During this, Sora mentions an inspector. The guy wonders what kind of a person he is and why she mentioned him in the first place. Sora says she heard that he has been dispatched here by the state. His arrival is due today, in the afternoon. Sora adds that this inspector wants to see Hermes, which means he will come here. The guy asks only one question. Why? The girl says that the inspector wants to see firsthand the man who destroyed a slime lord by himself. Hermes grimaced. It was just as he thought. Inspectors are the super elite law enforcers under the direct control of the king. Normally, they are not supposed to visit lords' residence like this. That is definitely strange. But there is one more problem. Hermes wonders why Sora knew it before he did. After all, he is the lord, so he must have been informed first. The girl giggled. She says it was because if Hermes would know this, he would rather run away. After thinking for a while, the guy concludes that Sora is right. Then the girl says something she said before. She asked the guy to give him all. Of course, Hermes reacts accordingly, grimaces and says that he won't do it. A chariot? The armed guards of knights? And each resident of the Kano household came to meet the guest, including Hermes? Looks like the inspector has arrived. Shortly after, the door of the chariot opens and strict armored people leave it. They are famous inspectors. There are a few of them, a nonchalant girl and a frowning man. What a company. Good luck to you, Hermes. Hermes claims those two look like trouble. The man gives off a self-important and sly vibe. As for the woman, she looks like a righteous and stubborn type. What a pain. The man steps forward and shouts at Hermes, asking if he is the head of the Kano family. Hermes replies that he is the current leader of the family. The man calls his name, Mauro Kolkos, second grade royal inspector. Mauro refers to the woman as Her Highness Lina Mi Egina, who will grace the household with her presence. When Hermes and his vassals heard the words Her Highness, they were shocked. Did it mean that it is the royal family in front of them? She was from the royal family, no doubts about it. She referred to Hermes and told him that he has her gratitude for receiving her today, albeit unannounced. Mauro says that they have been graced with the presence of Her Highness herself. He also told them that Lina values the truth above all treasures. See, he suggests Hermes answer with utmost sincerity to whatever he is asked. Sora and Hermes bow before Her Highness. They claim they are greatly honored to have her here. The guy is thinking that this will be hard for him. He doesn't want to go all out. If he does, troubles would be sure to follow. Still, it's royalty. The guy would rather not displease her and unleash her wrath on their household. Hermes is watching Lina and the inspector. The guy wonders how long he can play dumb. He claims that keeping the balance is a key to success. And also, he must be very cautious. Finally, Hermes took them to the inner courtyard. But since the request was strange, The guy wondered why they asked him to take them here. Morrow asks if it's true that Hermes defeated the Slime Lord. The guy confirms this. The inspector asks how exactly he did it. Hermes replies that he used fire magic and burned down the monster. But the determination in Morrow's voice sounds suspicious. Hermes wonders why he has asked those questions. Then the inspector says that Her Highness wants to see it with her own eyes. Morrow snaps his fingers. The group of his assistants brings something to the yard. It looks like a frozen slime lord. Morrow asks Hermes if the guy knows what that is. Hermes is not sure if he should answer or it would be better to play dumb. But maybe he knows what this thing is. The guy decides to play dumb. He says that it must be a lumber. Then the inspector informs that this is the magic item called Mimic. It is an artifact that can be adjusted to recreate the exact resistances of a monster. Now, when Morrow mentioned this, Hermes was thinking that he heard about this item. He believes it should be something guilds use to test adventurers if they have doubts about their skills. So the guy gets the point now. It seems like Lena wants to test him with this thing. Morrow says that they used an old book to make its resistances akin to those of a slime lord. Then the inspector asks Hermes to destroy it. What a pain in... The guy has no choice but to do as he was told. Hermes agrees to destroy the mimic. He is sure that he fought something like this before, so he knows its strength more or less. The plan is very simple. Since Hermes couldn't deny that he destroyed the Lord of Slimes anymore, he will make it look like he barely managed to do so. The guy raises his hand and starts to cast a spell. Her Highness watches closely at him. Hermes thinks it would pass as believable if he kept it burning for 5 minutes and scraped by. Finally, the mimic starts burning. It goes quite slow, but that's part of the plan, so... Well, let's hope that Hermes won't have any problems after. Morrow didn't look impressed. He calls the job lame. Lena, meanwhile, wondered if the monster fought back. Hermes confirmed this, but said that he dodged his attacks and managed to burn it eventually. But the inspector was disappointed. Morrow says that Hermes really managed to defeat the Lord of Slimes somehow. It is undoubtful. But the man supposes Hermes was just lucky. The guy at the same time was excited by Morrow's words. He liked the way the inspector spoke about him, and he was waiting for the guests to go away. Morrow gathers his assistants and asks Lena to leave, since they have seen enough. But it is clear that Lena is really bothered by something. Maybe she suspects the trick? Who knows? I would like to see what she has to say in the future. That evening, Hermes and the whole family arranged a great feast with a wide amount of dishes, etc. Hermes was walking around checking if guests liked the music and dishes. Besides, it was a great opportunity to watch for Morrow and Lena. After all, those two were very powerful, so it was in Hermes's interests to make them think high of him. After he walked for some time, the guy came to the conclusion that everything was fine. Looks like his "let's give our all to entertain the royal family" plan was a success. That's expected of Hermes as the head of the family. The guy also thinks it suits him to look like the kind person who'd try his hardest to curry favor with the royal family. But something bothered Hermes and Her Highness. Lena was standing at the balcony, away from the feast. It looked like she's meditating on something. Hermes hurries up to find out what's wrong. He asked her why she was here and what she was doing. The guy supposed she didn't like the noise, but for someone of the royal family, the noise never was a problem. Lena says that it is not because of the noise. She definitely has something to say, but for some reason she hesitates. All of a sudden, Her Highness rushed forward with the speed of light, closing the distance between them. Her face was right next to Hermes's. She says the famous adage, "The clever hawk hides its claws." Did she know that Hermes didn't use his full power during the test? I guess the answer is obvious. Yet Hermes doesn't understand her answer. Maybe because it was unexpected for him to hear that. Then Lena asked the guy if he ever arm wrestled an adult as a kid. The guy says yes. Lena explains that you can see when the other party is holding back, despite you getting serious. Her Highness says that the same thing happens in their family's martial arts. After training, you learn to let the opponent hit you to get him to be confident. But she can easily see through that. So Lena says that Hermes is doing the same thing. He doesn't show his true potential. But Her Highness asks the guy not to worry. She won't tell anybody. She was simply told to go and verify whether Hermes killed the Slime Lord or not. That's all. Lena's words confused the guy. He doesn't understand what's going on here. Then Her Highness says that she doesn't know why Hermes is holding back. The guy wishes it would be a dream. He wonders if she is serious about all the things she just said. Then her face changes. It is full of hope. Her Highness Lena says that she wishes to see the real Hermes one day, and the limitless potential he is hiding. Hermes looks really pissed off. He is thinking that holding back only plunged him even deeper in this mess. Such is true, my man. This is such a truth. Looks like Hermes's feast was successful, since the guy still can walk on his own feet. On one of those days, when he was tired of just sitting in his chair, the lord of the Kano family was walking through the city. Hermes was eating his sandwich, but the place where he wasn't an ordinary place. It was Orthia's place, full of any type of girl. What a coincidence. Right at the moment the guy was standing under the balcony, he heard the familiar voice. It was Orthia. She greets Hermes. The girl leaned upon the handrail, staring at Hermes. The guy has just finished his burger. He turned around to voice and saw Orthia at the balcony. He greets her too. Yeah, it can't be a mistake. It was Ortia herself, his regular streetwalker. The girl asks Hermes to come upstairs to see her. Strange proposal. Hermes says that it is a bit early for that. Orthia giggles in reply. She says that in a place like this, there is no such thing as too early. Besides, she mentions that she needs a small favor. Hermes wondered what kind of a favor she asked. He remembers all her favors he'd been asked. The common thing among them was that all of the favors were absurd. Orthia asked him for flowers that were beautiful but poisonous, or she wanted to have a taste of a big dangerous shark, asking Hermes to catch one. So there is no reason to think that this favor will be different from others. She's begging the guy to come upstairs. She says that only him can handle the problem, since he is her richest client. Interesting. The guy then wonders if she needs money or something like that. Of course, he calculates how this can benefit him, and he assumes that it can be really beneficial. There might be something to gain for him to be known as a prodigal lord who wastes money in a place like this. So Hermes agrees. Orthia was happy and excited to hear that. She says she will be waiting for him. Hermes enters the building. He meets with an old woman who works here as some kind of hostess, I suppose. Or maybe she is the boss here, who knows. In any case, he greets her and says that he came to see Orthia. The granny nods and lets him go further. Finally, Hermes reaches Orthia's door. Hardly when he opened a door, Orthia rushed into him, giving him a strong hug. Hermes was completely shocked. The girl says that she is very grateful to the guy, and she will never forget this action. Looks like she really gets into some trouble. Hermes says that he is amazed by her affection, but he wishes her to let him go. The girl apologizes and breaks the hug. Finally, the tension in the room gets lower. Hermes and Orthia have the opportunity to discuss her problem, which will be difficult considering her expression, but still. The girl says that yesterday a super wine was brought in the city. She explains that it is not just an ordinary wine. It's a wine 100 years old. They say a one bottle is worth about 6 months of pay of an ordinary person. And Orthia was thinking it would be really nice to drink it at least once in her life. But it is not so simple. She complains that there in a brothel they only have cheap wines. The only way to get that old wine is to order it somewhere else and have it delivered here. Hermes simplifies her statement. Basically speaking, Orthia just wants one of her customers to buy her a bottle. The girl is thinking for a while, but then instantly agrees with him. Orthia assures Hermes that if he buys her a bottle, then she will make sure Hermes has fun too. She claims that will let him do anything. It doesn't seem that Hermes has any interest in that kind of reward. Orthia claims that Hermes is quite a cold type. Still, he thought that there would be some catch in her favor. But it seems that her request won't be a problem. So Hermes agrees to bring a bottle to Orthia. The girl was excited. However, she was even shocked when the guy said that not only he will bring a bottle to her, but he will also take 2 glasses as well. That's the spirit. I like that, really. So does Orthia. The girl was so happy that she claimed she loves Hermes. Wow. But it's not a secret that she secretly likes him, though. She charged to give Hermes one more of her hug. The guy was scared as he may not survive this one. Hermes did as he promised. He and Orthia were waiting in the room for the much-desired bottle. Finally, someone knocked on the door. Hermes opened it and saw the man. He said that he brought the bottle. Orthia was full of joy and happiness. Hermes thanks the man and the delivery guy leaves, leaving Orthia and Hermes alone. The bottle was designed really classy. The guy and the girl barely could take their eyes off it. Hermes poured some wine into the glasses. Both were excited since no one of them drinked before. "Cheers," they said. Their glasses were empty in one go. I could have written here about them having a taste of wine, but I'd prefer not to do it. Firstly, because it is perfectly shown in the images. And secondly, drinking with someone is a private thing, so let us leave it between Hermes and Orthia. It was late already, and Hermes still was absent. The vassals and other residents of the mansion were worried. Finally, the lord of the family has returned. Mimizu, of course, wasn't sleeping yet, and he was the first who welcomed the guy home. When Hermes opened the door, the old man turned his face away and started muttering under his breath. Hermes, on the other hand, was singing some songs. Obviously. You get it? Get the joke? He was singing because he was drunk. I know, it's not that funny. Let's just see what happened when Hermes met Mimizu. The old man wondered, where did Hermes go? But the appearance of the guy and the smell. Oh gosh, Mimizu even covered his nose with a hand. The old man realizes that his lord is drunk. What a shame. He asked if Hermes was drinking. The guy replies that he's been drinking just a little bit. Anyway, the guy asked why Mimizu was so fidgety. The old man replies that he worries because they received a royal request. A royal request? Hermes wonders. Mimizu says that Her Highness the Queen is in the mood for a snow dragon fruit, and she ordered this mansion to deliver one at once. Hermes didn't get it. What, agon fruit? He asks. The old man explains that there is a mountain in their domain called Kellens. Around the top of that mountain, there is never-melting snow thousands of years old. That's the only place where one could find this fruit. Hermes says that he didn't know about that. Hermes asks if the queen really wants this fruit. The old man confirms it, but he also says this is out of the question. He explains that Mount Kellens is to some extent like a natural fortress. It is extremely dangerous, and it would require an exploration party. It would be impossible to bring her the fruit at once. But the guy didn't listen to Mimizu any further. He asked if the queen wanted the snow dragon fruit. The old man says this is true. So Hermes claims that no exploration party is required because he will do it himself. The guy asks Mimizu to leave it to him. So Hermes rushed out of the mansion. Mimizu tried to stop the guy, but he didn't make it. Hermes left, and his action made Mimizu shocked once again. It will be interesting to watch Hermes while he tries to get the fruit. Hermes was walking across the yard. Then he stopped. The guy looks around and sees something far away. He claims that it should be the right way to Kellens Mountain if he remembers correctly. To reach the mountain, Hermes has one trick. He supposes it shouldn't be much of a problem even if he is drunk. So he casts a spell. I wonder if it's a levitating spell. And this is completely right. Hermes just says that he will skip the climbing part. I wish I could fly like this too. Oh well. Well, look at Mimizu. The old man beholds his drunk lord flying away to the dangerous mountain to bring a fruit to the queen. Now I know how he got his gray hair. It didn't take long for Hermes to reach the right mountain. Wait a minute. Didn't he say that he didn't know about this mountain earlier when he was talking to Mimizu? Yep, he said this. Okay, maybe it's all because of the 100-years-old wine. Not only he reached the mountain, but Hermes also found the needed thing, snow dragon fruit. And all this he did while he was drunk. Nicely done, my friend. So the fruit was growing at the tree, which looks like a shorter version of palme with some extra leaves on top of it. Okay, he reached the top of the mountain and found the tree. Is this really so easy? You know, they say if you can get something really easy, you better check if it's not a trap. This was exactly the case. While Hermes was standing near the tree, a snowburst suddenly fell on him. Luckily, he was sober enough to parry the attack. Look how good the guy is. He is really something amazing when he is serious. Please don't hit me, Hermes. I know you hate when someone says that. So the guy successfully saves himself from the snow, and it was time to take what he must take. Hermes took one dragon fruit, and after thinking for a little bit, he took one more. The second is the souvenir, says the guy. Then he leaves the top of the mountain. I mean, it was cool there and such things, but didn't you notice the snow? This place was an impersonation of the words beastly cold. On the next day, the guy wakes up late. Later than usual. His head aches and feels dizzy. I bet he wishes to spend the whole day in his bed. Oh, I understand him so much. After he wakes up, Hermes wonders why he is not wearing his pajamas, and his blanket fell down. Then he recalls that yesterday he humored Orthia after she pestered him and ended up drinking that expensive wine. He raised up and it wasn't looking good. Hermes claims he doesn't feel right. He says that it was so good that he gulped it all down and now he can't remember a thing. The guy decides that for now, he will just wash his face and try to wake up. He headed to the bathroom. Hardly the guy opened the door, his sister wished him a good morning. Her loud voice and unexpectancy to seeing her there nearly caused a heart attack. Hermes scolds the girl, asking what is wrong with her. Sora apologizes and says she didn't expect to see the guy behind the door. But guess what she says after? She affects Hermes and says that he is incredible. The girl says that she knows everything about last night. She means that she is aware that the guy in just one night went to Mount Kellen's and brought back a snow dragon fruit. But Hermes looks like he never heard of it. No wonder, my man. If you knew how much wine you gulped yesterday, you won't be surprised. Sora looks a bit concerned. The fact that Hermes doesn't remember a thing looks suspicious to her. Then she tries to remind him about everything. She mentioned that Her Highness Queen desired a snow dragon fruit, a very rare and renowned fruit, and Hermes immediately brought one back. Actually, he brought back 2 fruits, but it doesn't seem like a pretty important fact. Just saying. However, Hermes for the first time denies that he ever did something like that, because it sounds quite impossible. Or does it sound? Because after the girl reminded him about all of those hard things, something clacked inside his head. The images were changing one another quite fast, but he remembered every detail of his last night. He remembered how he reached the mountain, the tree with fruits, and how skilly he dealt with a bunch of snowflakes. This happened so fast and so unexpectedly that Hermes was shocked. He did such an impossible task, no doubts about it. Was he really that capable? Yes, he was. Sora adds that Mimizu also was speechless. According to the old man's words, even though the young lord was drunk, he jumped away to Mount Kellen's. Not to mention that Hermes came back within the day. It was an obvious win for him. But on the other hand, considering Hermes' main goal, he overdid everything, which means that his last night's feat was a big fail. The guy is forced to stand such a shame. He wishes this all to be a dream. He is desiring to wake up right now, but unfortunately this is reality. He really overdid this time. No, he did way too much this time. As for Sora, she really enjoys the moment. Her brother was capable of doing so even though he wasn't sober. He alone was able to do so much so fast, way better than any expedition or recon team. Hermes was incredible, as always. Luckily, Hermes snapped out of depression quickly. He remembered the fruits and asked Sora where the snow dragon fruits were. Also, the guy is thinking about Mimizu's impression of him. He is supposed to come up to him with some excuses later. He is going to justify himself. The real problem is the royal family's request. Sora shocks Hermes with her reply. She says that the fruits have already been sent to the capital, so His Highness the King is probably aware that Hermes accomplished all that in just one night. This is over. The guy realizes that it doesn't matter anymore. It is too late to do something. He turns around and falls on his bed. He blames the wine and all that happened. Sora wonders if the guy is okay. She asks if he wants to sleep for a little bit more. Hermes says that he is going to sleep. That's all he wants from Sora, just to let him sleep. The last day was too stressful for Hermes. No wonder that right now the guy just lays down and stares at his magazine. The view of some pretty beauties makes him feel good. And the sweets are also designed for this goal. Besides, eating sweets kind of benefits the brain and ability to think straight. It is really a great day. Or should I say, it could have been a really good day. Everything was smoothly before Sora appears. Oh gosh, she always shows up and ruins the perfect relaxation. Please, just don't throw the magazine this time, I'm begging you. So, the girl greets her brother. Hermes reluctantly takes his eyes from the magazine. He looks at the girl and asks her what happened. She says that she has a job for the guy, but she lets him know that the job is kind of out of the blue. Hermes rises up. He wonders what kind of job she is talking about. Of course, things like this cannot happen that suddenly. So Hermes suspects some kind of catch. His doubt meter is filled to its max. Besides, he has a really bad feeling in his guts. A job coming from his sister? Well, it doesn't seem like he has a choice anyway. So he listens to what she has to say. But Sora empties Hermes' doubt meter with a single phrase. She says that the job she is going to ask is a really regular thing for the head of the Kano family. And in case Hermes still has doubts about it, he is free to ask Mimizu about this. Looks like the guy calms down for a second. Right when Sora was about to inform Hermes about the job, their conversation was interrupted. The maid entered the room and let them know that the carriage was ready. The young maid shocked Hermes, but Sora was reacting quite regularly. She just was surprised that they did it so fast. But that's all. The guy wondered why there was a need for a carriage. Sora promises to inform him about this question and the details of his job later. The mansion looked really quiet from the outside. There were no signs of the vassals walking around and doing their job. Maybe they were all inside. The one thing is for sure. Hermes was inside the mansion, and he was preparing that this peaceful quiet was going to end soon. Hermes was relaxing in a hot bath. He was thinking about the kind of job, and the guy didn't see what job there might be. The only thing that concerned him was why they sent him to mixed baths. However, then he assumes that there is nothing wrong with it. After all, they are the family. And guess who was there? There was Sora. She said that the water is really great. Hermes agreed with her, but he wondered what it had to do with his job in the first place. Sora asks Hermes about the Kano family. She wonders if Hermes knows why the family was given a barony. It was an unexpected question, and Hermes, who was a smart-headed boy, didn't know the answer to that. Now that you asked, I didn't know this either, but I would like to hear why. Sora speaks about the barony. She says that the first reason is because their founder was also His Highness the King's tutor. Hermes was amazed. From fencing instructor to a noble. Quite an excellent career. Looks like the founder of the family was an extraordinary person indeed. The second reason is that these hot springs are said to have been made with a single sword by someone dear to their founder. The guy wondered what kind of sword it was. Was it some kind of magic thing or something like that? So actually, the reason why they were having a rest here is because the Kano family received this place from the royal family, and therefore they have to visit it regularly. At that moment, the maid entered the room. She said that she came to wash their backs. But the girl chose not the right time for this. You see, just a second before she entered, Hermes stood up to warm himself out. And as soon as the maid came in, the first thing she saw was the completely naked body of her lord. Really awkward situation. Maybe you think that the first thing they had to do is to take their eyes off each other. But they both were so shocked, so they kept looking at each other. And they weren't looking just in the eyes. Finally, the maid and the guy realize that something is wrong. The maid's scream stuffs Hermes' ears, though the guy didn't feel any less awkward. On the opposite. Luckily enough, they took their eyes from each other. As for Sora, the girl was having a bath and she felt really great. She didn't hear when Hermes stood up, but she definitely heard when the maid came. She was laying and relaxing when she heard a loud scream from the maid. She jumped out of surprise and looked at what was going on. Oh my God. She had her eyes like saucers. They decided to leave the room because the situation was too uncomfortable for everyone. Hermes takes on his bathrobe and the girls calm down. The maid asks her lord for mercy since she didn't mean to see him like that. The guy says that since she is working as the servant of the nobles, not only should she be fully prepared to use her hands, but she should also consider it an honor. The poor girl barely could stand this scolding. Hermes' words hit her like a sharp blade. It looked like she had a panic attack. The maid just couldn't. She claimed that with that much she is going to kiss her mental health goodbye. She is begging Hermes to stop. But he wants her to do her work properly. He says that not only did she deliberately look at it, but now she is talking nonsense. Poor maid apologizes for the situation and her inappropriate behavior. Finally, Sora decides to stand for the girl. She gives her the sweetest hug that I have ever seen and says that it sure was scary. But now it's all over. The maid apologizes for the second time. But this time, she has finally started to feel some peace. Sora looks at her brother. She asks him not to worry anymore and says that there are many more important things, while calling the guy my lord. He stops the girl and asks her not to call him like that because it is confusing. The girl has something to ask Hermes. She wonders if talking to her while bathing got him so tense. Hermes felt so out there. What the hell is she talking about? The girl says that the bath was long and she is willing to understand Hermes's fantasy ran wild, but she wonders if he thinks that was a bit strange. Hermes nearly fainted. Such shocking words Sora was saying to him. Such an accusation hit Hermes badly. The guy is not going to just stand there and listen to her. He says that they didn't understand the whole situation right. Firstly, the maid was shocked, so she definitely may not remember all things properly. Secondly, he was not tense at that moment. Well, he was willing to fix the situation, but his words shocked the maid even more. The fact that the guy wasn't tense at all scares her, or excites, or even both. She fell on the chair and collapsed. Let us leave the poor girl alone. She must rest. All of a sudden, the guy hears a giggle. It was Sora's giggle. Wait a minute. Now he gets it. The girl was just making fun of them. Sora smiles and says that she really didn't mean to, but Hermes had enough. He says that he is done with Sora, turns around and is about to leave. She smiles with her most innocent smile and asks him to chill out and don't be like that. Still, the guy didn't listen to her. He left Sora and the maid in the room and went to walk alone. The guy was embarrassed and disappointed because of Sora's action. It is not that he was angry with her, but her prank just made him look really awkward. So he has to relax. On second thoughts, Maid's and Sora's words actually were a compliment to him. He may be proud, but not quite. I would be a compliment if he weren't dealing with his own sister, that's for sure. All of a sudden, the guy sees an open wicket. He steps forward and sees a passage behind it. Hermes wonders if this is what he thinks it is. Hermes looks around to be sure that no one is watching him. The area was clear, so he instantly rushed to the wall. He was alone, and he found something precious here. So why don't he try to use it for relaxation? After all, he deserved it. The precious thing Hermes found was a hole in the wall. It was small, yet its size was enough for the eye to have a proper view. I wonder how Hermes saw it in the first place. I guess the guy has a keen eye for these things. What? Amazing! Not only the guy has a keen eye, but he also is a very lucky type. You see, normally the person inside would easily notice the hole in the wall, even a small one. But this hole was covered by trees, so the person won't be able to notice it, even if she has an extraordinary sight. Moreover, Hermes noticed that it wasn't the bath he and Sora were, so the only possible option is a peeping spot. She recalls Sora's words about this place, specifically that it was made by the founder himself. Hermes assumes the founder was the one who made this hole too. He's a man and a perverted one at that. Then he looks through the hole again. It looks like someone got in. What the? No, wait. Is this really true? Please don't. A monkey in the hot springs? Is this some kind of a joke? But it is true, unfortunately. Hermes was really disappointed and pissed off. Is he really watching Monkey has a bath in a hot spring? Unluckily, he is. Hermes concludes that there are no reasons for him to stay. For example, if it was a girl, he would gladly continue his little pee-pee show. But watch a monkey? No. Out of the question. Besides, it is getting chilly. So the guy decides to leave. But he unconsciously peeps for the last time and, well, let's say he made the right choice. Anyway, the thing is, the monkey who was having a bath started to change. First, its sizes are starting to change. It's getting bigger. Plus, her color was slightly different too. It became darker. Then the monkey changed into a gigantic impersonation of demolition itself. Its fur became completely dark, and as for its size, you see this with your own eyes. Would be better if she turned into a beautiful princess or something. You know, like they used to in the fairy tales. So now the guy realized that it wasn't just his imagination. That monkey turned into a monster in his own eyes. Hermes jumps on the wall. It seems like there is nobody else who can handle this beast except for him. Though the guy didn't fully understand what was going on, he wasn't going to let this monster destroy the place that was given to the Kano family by the royal family. The giant gorilla noticed Hermes too. The creature let out a frantic scream full of hatred and rage. Hermes was nonchalant. He prepared to finish it with just one shot. Ready, steady, go! He dashed forward with the speed of light. The monster has no chances to win this fight. Hermes knocks the creature down with one kick. That guy has some perfect aim, I must say. After all, the main goal of the guy was not just to beat the crap out of the monster, but to keep this place undamaged. Okay, I couldn't hold myself any longer. This fight reminds me of the first Levi and Zeke encounter. Okay, let's go back to Hermes. He managed to overthrow the giant, but the fight was far from over. The guy looks at his arm. There were small stings. Hermes assumed that the giant stinged him with this when the guy parried his blow. He also claimed that he felt some magic aura, but this wasn't the right time for thinking. The beast backed at its feet and rushed forward to crush Hermes. Not this time, Mr. King Kong. Hermes was fully aware of everything the monster does. He moved out of the line of attack and delivered a devastating punch right to the monster's chin. Furthermore, this punch was so strong, but look at the guy. He barely puts any effort into his punch. The monster flew up after it took a punch. Hermes claimed he can't let it smash a place bestowed by the king, so the guy must end this fight quickly, and he better do it right now, while the monster can't really do something. Hermes casts a spell. And you know, they say that there is one thing that can beat a big monster, and that is the bigger monster. Hermes calls some huge thing with a mouthful of sharp teeth. The huge thing closes its mouth and gulps the giant monkey. The end. Hermes wins. So, in the end, Hermes succeeded. He disposed of that monster the most proper way, because the monkey didn't leave any traces here. And without the giant monster who is willing to destroy the place, the baths look really great. But beating the monster is not enough. It is still unknown why it was here in the first place. The guy says he will check the cause of all that happened, but as always, he was interrupted by his sister. Sora says that Hermes never disappoints her. Gosh, she really scared the guy. What was she doing here anyway? The girl explains that she just heard loud noises and came to check what it was about. And then she just saw Hermes throwing the giant monkey into the mouth of a huge thing. Sora giggles. The guy says that she is not being helpful with that. But more importantly, what was that thing? He asks her about these springs and the things that are going on here. The girl remembered. She said she forgot it because that situation earlier in the bath stopped her. Sora lets him know that when this hot spring was dug up, they used a magic sword. Due to the influence of that magic sword, periodically a miasma arises and transforms normal animals into fiendish monsters as a collateral effect. Regularly eliminating them and preserving this place is an important duty of the Kano family. Normally, when they find the monsters, the head of the family leads a small army to purge them, usually causing some damage in the process. But this time there was zero damage. Not to mention Hermes did it alone. The girl says that it won't be long before everyone understands how good is him. Then she asks Hermes to go back to the inn, because it is almost dinner time. Hermes stands still. He yells at Sora and assumes she was planning this all along, but the girl claims that she just couldn't finish her explanation, that's all. Still, Hermes didn't believe her, but it doesn't really matter as the girl says that she heard the rumors of what Hermes just did are spreading through their balcony. The guy was pissed off with her behavior, and the fact that everyone will be thinking high of him didn't do any better. The chapter begins with Hermes, who is taking his horse to the gates. The guards who were watching the perimeter noticed the Lord. They wondered where the guy is going. Hermes stops. He turns around and replies that he heard about something important. Therefore, there is a thing that he wants to see himself. A few hours ago, something happened. Mimizu walked into Hermes' room. The old man was nervous and his hands were shaking. With a trembling voice, the old man informed Hermes that the emergency request just arrived. Looks like Hermes was a bit busy, and he was not alone. Kind of a funny situation, isn't it? When the old man came into the room, Hermes instantly pushed Sora back. He asked her to keep distance. Mimizu wondered what they were doing here. It seems he got his explanation. Sora asks Hermes why he is behaving like that. She says that the guy always wears the same clothes, and it would not hurt to change once in a while. After all, he should indulge his own daughter, or sister, for once. But the guy asks her to stop pestering him like that. He is not going to wear those inappropriate clothes. Period. Hermes claims that he indulges her wimps pretty often. Sora giggles and says that it couldn't be true. Shocked old man was watching them. Their conflict confused him as he didn't know if it was a fight between the siblings or father and daughter. In any case, Hermes shows much more interest in Mimizu now and likes to listen to the old man's request. The old man shocks Hermes and Sora with the news that he was informed that a meteorite fell on the highway outside Pindos's suburbs. He says that the highway was damaged, and the meteorites are now blocking the way. so carriages and the sort cannot pass through. Sora is amazed and scared by the news. She has bad memories about meteorites, and Hermes completely understands her. The meteorites fell before. He wonders if there is a connection between this and the previous accident, because not long ago, one meteorite fell, which caused Hermes to overtake the throne of the leader of the Kano family. If there is a connection, then they must intervene. If they are not, the distribution of goods will likely suffer, and that is why they received an emergency removal and restoration request. Hermes wondered if those rocks are really meteorites. The old man said that it appears so. Besides, no one reported anything about magic or them being man-made. Man-made. These words disturbed Hermes. It looked like he had something on his mind. The guy says that he has a full understanding of the situation and then orders Mimizu to deal with it. Sora tried to contradict with something, but the guy stopped her. He claimed that he won't lift a finger. Then the Lord leaves the room, and he also leaves Mimizu and Sora confused about his unordinary behavior. But it seems like Hermes wasn't frank with Sister and the old man. Why would he ride a horse then? He says that this is how it went, while he kept silent and went to where the meteorites were. The guy was riding his horse to meteorites through the valley. He was wondering about why they fell. If it turns out there is someone behind this, things might get troublesome soon, so he thought he'd better check it out. If the demolition work is making progress without any problems, then he will be just on his way. But if there is some sort of issue, he will just pretend to be a traveler who is passing through. Great plan, though. If he could only do something with his disguise in addition to just wearing a hood. While he was moving further to Meteorite's whereabouts, the guy was passing through the tea house. Interestingly, he didn't know there was a tea house in this land. He assumes to stop on his way back if he has to. By the time Hermes managed to reach the destination, the job was already done. The travelers managed to construct a bridge, so carriages could continue moving. As for the meteorite, it has been cut into tiny pieces. Hermes was amazed. He wondered what on earth happened here in the first place. And thanks to who the huge piece of alien boulder turned into a bunch of pebbles. The guy got off the horse and had a better view of the remains. He was impressed. It was a remarkable swordsmanship. Suddenly he heard an unknown voice. It was a guy who was standing near him. He claimed that Hermes has quite the eye. Hermes was disappointed about his loud talks with himself. The new guy says that it all happened thanks to Perseus, the sword saint. He claims they were lucky the saint was passing by. Who knows how long it would have taken to clear the way if not for him, says the guy. But this guy could not put so much effort into his story. By the time he finishes, he discovers that no one is listening to him. Hermes already heard what he wanted, so there was no need for him to stay and listen. Except for pure politeness, I suppose. But this is Hermes we are talking about. Anyway, that guy was kind of disappointed. He hadn't got any affection even though he went out of his way to tell the story. Hermes was about to leave the area. It wasn't safe for him to stay any longer since his cover might be blown. The guy claimed that he will be taking his leave. Besides, he has nothing to do here anyway. At this pace, the road will be open by tomorrow, supposes Hermes. And this is good. After all, everything he does just fires back later. So this time, he'd better mind his own business and stay out of trouble. His help isn't needed. Nothing can be better than that. How long has it been since he didn't do anything? A month or longer? Anyway, it was a beautiful feeling of peace. On his way back, he met some men who wondered if the road was open already. The guy said that the road is okay and they are free to pass through. The men thank him. Oh, the tea shop. Just what he needed. Hermes told he will stop here if he has time. Well, now he was starting to feel hungry, so he definitely will stop for a break. He heard strange noises from the inside. It was a woman. He could tell it by the voice. She was asking someone to stop. Then Hermes heard the second voice. The man's voice. He said that he will just touch her for a bit. Perfect. The guy was just talking that nothing bad is going to happen. And there it is. Okay, maybe it won't be that bad, right? Hermes entered the shop. The old man was touching the waitress and Hermes asked him to stop. The man was frustrated. He turns around and sees nothing but a boy. Maybe this camouflage wasn't that bad, huh? The guy says that if this old man is here just to harass a woman, then he should probably go back home to his wife. But the old man replied that he has no business with him. The fact that the old man's attitude towards Hermes was so unserious frustrates Hermes. Meanwhile, the old man keeps molesting the woman. He does some compliments to her body, but this is way too inappropriate. The guy couldn't stand such arrogant behavior. He rushed forward and was going to do things the old-schooled way. Just when he was about to deliver a blow to the old man, Hermes stopped. He felt a devastating magic source, and the old man's aura changed. Something horrific was hiding behind this, but stopping right now means that Hermes could be eaten alive by that thing, whatever that was. So the guy ended the fight in his style, quickly and smoothly. No unreasonable damage, no casualties, and no excess words. In the end, the guy took down just a regular old man. He was irritated because he forgot to hold back because of the shock. The visitors of the shop immediately asked the old man if he felt okay. Yes, that's right. I bet he hears you just fine after that punch. Hermes checked the old man's heart beating. The oldie was alive. But then shocked visitors started to come to their senses. One of them wondered what happened. The other said that the old man was on the ground before he knew it. Third one pointed at Hermes, asking who is him. Hermes felt that it wouldn't end right. Then he was shocked to know that the old man he has just beaten in a single blow is Perseus, the sword saint. Who? What did he just say? He is kidding, right? This old man who had harassed the women and then was beaten with Hermes' single blow is a famous Perseus, the sword saint? I guess I will need a vacation. And Hermes is also shocked. He never thought it was possible to defeat the sword saint that easily. But that man's words were true, obviously. After all, he had no reasons to lie. This old geezer is the sword saint Perseus. And here's the clue. The old man holds a cane in his hand. But this is not just a cane, it's a sword cane. And it was partly unsheathed. Does it mean the old man took a fighting stance in an instant? Looks like Hermes is right. But that means that this old man is a real deal, which shocks Hermes even more. Meanwhile, something happened with the place where the meteorite landed. At first, people heard some strange noises coming from the remains. Then some black liquid showed up. The monster? Looks like it's gonna end badly. The people cause stampedes while running away. Thus, Hermes just casually beats the sword saint. He wonders why it always comes to this, even though this time he put on a disguise to hide his identity. The others meanwhile wondered who on earth is this kid in a hood. Someone supposed that he may be a famous fighter and wanted an autograph. The girl assumed Hermes could be God's divine messenger sent to punish the sword saint's misdeeds. Well, that is too much. Hermes is amazed someone can think like that. In any case, it all looks really bad. Hermes assumes he needs to think up a way out of this before it gets worse. All of a sudden, everybody feels some kind of an earthquake. It was hard not to fall after such an unexpected quake. Luckily, everybody survived this. But Hermes sees that the woman's feet are shaking. It looks like she is going to fall at any moment. He must think quickly. The guy rushes forward and manages to catch the woman before she falls on the ground. He wonders if she is all right. But she can't really say anything at the moment. Not that she didn't hear him or forgot how to speak. It's just because Hermes' arms were so cozy and strong that she was amazed by him. Besides, he rescued her from harassment. Suddenly, a guy breaks into the shop. He asks everyone to run immediately. Hey, it's the same guy who said that Perseus cut the meteorite into pieces. He shouts that the monster came out of the meteorites. Hermes takes the cane and heads to the guy. He asks him to tell what happened in every detail. The guy says that after the monster came out, he said that people have his gratitude for freeing him. In other words, they shouldn't have crushed the meteor. The guy couldn't finish his words. Something hit him. It looked like a black tentacle or something. Looks like he wasn't kidding. This scared everyone. Even Hermes started to worry. As for the woman, she was numbed because of the fear. Then some dude enters the shop from the second entrance. He didn't know what happened and barely heard noises. So he was really startled when he saw the old man Perseus laying on the ground. Meanwhile, Hermes decides it is time to act. He dashes out of the shop and meets the monster. The monster was pure impersonification of evil. He looked like a walking flame right from the bottoms of the underworld. When he saw Hermes, he was glad. He saw the guy as the strong opponent. On the contrary, Hermes was thinking how he could not escalate this situation. His only thought was that it is going to be bad if he does more than he already did and gets his popularity up. But still, he was squeezing the sword with a tight grip. Monster tried to land the first punch, but Hermes successfully blocked it with the cane. The monster was surprised. Hermes was thinking about the better way of ending this fight. Meanwhile, the people were running away, just what Hermes needed. The monster waited for a second and said that Hermes looked quite amused, but the guy replied that he is not. Hermes says he is pretty serious, even though he is trying not to laugh at the monster's pitiful skills. The creature calls him a fool, but says that the guy is putting up a nice act. Finally, Hermes swings the cane and hits the monster. Hermes claims that the monster doesn't look like it, but he is strong. Still, this is not a fight Hermes can't win. If the guy makes it look like he is struggling and takes the occasional blow, then immediately counterattacks at the right places, then everybody will be able to evacuate safely. And when they are finally alone, Hermes beats him. Someone throws a stone at the monster. The monster wonders what the woman is doing. Meanwhile, the guy looks back and checks the survivors from the tea shop. He sees that the woman stands strange. Did she just throw a stone at the monster? The woman says that since the guy saved her twice, she wanted to repay him with this act. She claims that this is how thankful she is to him. Hermes was shocked about it. She broke his plan and was not thankful at all. The monster raises up. He claims that he will admit that humans are brave indeed. He says that he will grant her wish and deal with a woman first. Hermes was disappointed, but he had to protect them. But at what cost? Everyone will see his skills and join his cheerleader club, so the monster was about to deliver a fatal blow. But Hermes was prepared for that. He waited for the right moment and cut the monster in half. The guy claims it was good that the monster was so stupid. He stepped to the woman and lent her a hand. He expressed his gratitude, because the woman's bravery allowed him to attack the monster. The woman says that it is all thanks to Hermes. She claims he is really strong. But the guy is shy and says that it was a tough fight and he really breaks a sweat. Then he had to stand the whole crowd who wanted to say thanks to Hermes. The men told him that he was incredible, and thanks to him, someone's daughter was saved. Hermes looks quite okay. He admits it could be worse than this. After all, there were only a few witnesses and he thinks he put on a nice act, looking like he had a hard time. Good thing the monster was not smart. He was disposed of quickly and apparently didn't damage anything. And thanks to the hood, those people haven't found out his identity. So he concludes that he is done here. Suddenly, Hermes was attacked by Perseus. Why does the old man do this? The guy blocks the attack easily and wonders why he was attacked. It turns out that the body of the saint was taken by the monster. Now the old man's body became a vessel for the monster. Just in time, because the monster was thinking this would be a disposable body. But it looks like he will be using it for a while. Hermes wondered if the old man was really the holy sword. Still, he finds it ironic to think that the body of someone who should be pure and noble fits this monster so perfectly.